Recording. BFL show draft edition. Gentlemen.
Hello.
It's our third annual, right?
Third annual.
First time with Ben on. Amazing.
Hello, world.
Hey, Ben.
Hi.
Super pumped.
There's a blizzard in the house.
It's getting cold in here.
Served upside down.
Let's talk.
Let's do it.
We had a draft on Sunday, right? Last Sunday.
It was, yeah.
Almost a week ago. Hence, Goody kicked the draft off with CMC 1.1. Solid. Nothing wrong with that.
There's no other choice, right?
There's nothing wrong with that until you take a look at Carolina's offensive line, but I don't want to plant any doubt. Goody seems pretty solid. He made a big move to go ahead and get Josh Jacobs in the first round also.
Mm-hmm.
I heart that pick. I think it was actually better than a couple of the picks ahead of it. Any other thoughts on Goody's draft overall?
His overall draft? Yeah, for sure. I mean, he took 10 defensive players if you have his keepers thrown in there. I think that's a bit much for me. Maybe he's going for value. Maybe he likes certain players, but 10 seems like an awful lot, especially when I believe he's still a little weak at the wide receiver position. I actually didn't mind CeeDee Lamb in the fifth. I think he's going to get lots of opportunities in Dallas. I think he may, but then he's got Lamb and Gallup, and, I don't know how many balls are there to go around. I already made a trade for a different tight end, which is fine, but I don't know. Overall, I think it could have been a few different picks later to possibly add a little depth. What do you think?
Here's the thing, like, you're talking about depth. Like, this year is a year like no other. Depth might be the saving grace of everything. So if people come out of nowhere, like I took 2 tight ends this year. I never take 2 tight ends. I took a backup quarterback. I rarely take a backup quarterback. I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm not going to kill someone for taking depth. And you mentioned he took a lot of defensive players. He already got rid of one, right? The Darius Leonard trade.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah.
Well, that's still the trade was factored in. He still has 10 defensive players at last check. So, to me, it comes down to like a make or break type guy for him would be Brady. Picking him up where he did was great value. He has a ton of weapons at his disposal and looking as motivated as ever. If he can be like a lot of people are projecting him to be, or projecting the Buccaneers to be, they're the very sexy pick right now to come out of the NFC, then that could carry him really far. So I love that for him. Also in my likes for his team, I did highlight Jacobs. I highlighted CeeDee Lamb, and to make the trade to go get Jacobs was, I think, huge. And then actually Larry Fitzgerald, way down there, what was it, round like 15 or 16, something like that. That guy's going to get opportunities at some point. It's going to be a pass-heavy offense. If Hopkins is dinged or Kirk is dinged or somebody, he's going to be called upon at least a couple times this year, and he'll go out there and catch 10 balls. You know what I mean? So I think that's a great late pick by him too. The pick I didn't like, I did not care for the Jalen Hurts pick, not because I have any problem with Hurts, but if that's the future play, when's the future start for him? You know what I mean? Like, you could draft Hurts and keep around 3 years from now, I still believe, because I don't think he's going to take over for Wentz anytime soon. That's just me. And then especially when you needed more value at wide receiver, that's one that kind of boggled my mind. If you wanted to take another quarterback and a keeper, fine. There were still other guys available, you know what I mean, that I thought are better than Hurts. But that's just me.
There it is. Ben, Goody's a Beloit Memorial guy. Tell us your favorite memory of Beloit Memorial. Kidding. You don't have to do that. Ben, I got to say, one of my greatest disappointments was I had to run some of the sound at the draft.
Yeah.
You weren't there to do it, and I think I got Dom in trouble. Remember, I played the swears, and then Dom was like, "My kids heard that," and then 2 minutes later, Dom had to leave. So I feel like I'm like if Dom has been murdered now by like, I don't know. So I feel that.
I'm sure that probably didn't help. I think he was also on a time commitment.
Okay. All right.
I think the draft, it was a long draft. I mean, our drafts are always kind of long.
Right.
I mean, 18, 19 rounds take a while.
For us, though, 4 hours is pretty darn good.
Yeah. I think we've kind of proved we don't need a break. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, it depends. When we're all in the same room, it's nice to get a break and get up, walk around, and
yes,
if there's gonna be food or something like that. But
that's true.
Yeah.
We were all alone, so then it would like mean being more alone if we.
Yeah. And I feel like with it being on a Sunday this year too, I think there was some motivation to get it done quicker.
Yeah.
Agreed. Shall we move on to the second picker? Dom? Dom is stacked. We knew that going in. He got a lot of praise on the Keepers show. Well done, Dom, setting yourself up. Here's the thing, though. So he took, with his first pick, he took Zeke, which was Zeke over Saquon. A little bit of controversy there, a little bit of whoa. Hey, that's okay, though. I think the Cowboys are going to have a way better offense in general than the Giants, but I feel like the consensus has been Saquon over Zeke, but Dom went Zeke. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that was slightly surprising. It's not Zeke is definitely in that top tier, but yeah, I think Saquon's kind of the consensus number 2 for what was left from after our keepers. But yeah, apparently he went with the better situation, better team, better offensive line for sure. The Giants line is a mess. So I have no problem with it, to be honest.
Here's the thing. Go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
I was just saying, I think that's a no lose situation.
Right on. Yeah.
I mean, you can try to pick it apart, but
right.
At the end of the year, someone's going to say that they were a genius, and someone's going to say that everybody else was wrong.
I think they're both going to be in the top. I mean, if they both stay healthy, they'll both be top 5 for sure. So that's like nitpicking a little bit. So sorry, Dom, for nitpicking you. So interesting though with his next pick. So the running back with taking Zeke gave him 3 running backs already that are completely starter caliber. He backed that up and took a 4th starting running back caliber player with his pick. So essentially in the first round, he took a bench player. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was my note on his team is he basically has 4 RB1s in my opinion. That is not a bad place at all to be. Running backs have always been the driving force behind the really good teams. There are exceptions to that, of course. But I feel like you can never have enough depth. He can play the hot hand. He can play the matchups. My only thing is he may have a tough time deciding who to bench, but during the bye weeks, he's still going to be loaded. I haven't looked at how all their bye weeks stack up. I can't imagine they're all.
I think he's covered. I think he's okay.
Yeah. But that was yeah. Oh man, that is too sexy to have. Basically, Edwards-Helaire, who is a lot of people loving him in the KC offense, but that was almost like a luxury pick for him, which is insane to have that early in the draft. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's how I take it. He saved himself later. I mean, if you're swinging for the fences, and you're in the first round and you're trying to win, I'm picking up Travis Kelce in that pick, and I'm getting myself the top available tight end by a lot. But then we didn't punish him as a league. We didn't punish him, and we let Zach Ertz fall to him in round 4. So I think he's got a top 4 to 5-ish tight end, and so that makes the Helaire pick in the first round look like a genius move because he ended up still getting a top tier tight end in that spot. Like if we make him end up with somebody like, I don't know, Kyle Rudolph, no offense, Notre Dame, then he's like, man, why didn't I take a good tight end? He ended up with a good tight end. So I mean, this dude, he's never going to have a bye week where he's not starting 3 just big donkey dick running backs that are just going to run over people. And he's got a great tight end. So he made a calculated risk by doing a running back in that sense, in a weird way. And plus, no one knows what CEH is going to do. I've seen him, like, people say he's worth 1.1. So he's kind of an ultimate wild card too. I tip my cap to you for pulling that move off, Dom. Well done.
On the same token, I feel like he kind of undersold the quarterback position, though. I like Josh Allen. He is a baller. He just goes out, gamer, runs through people if he has to. I feel like if he really wanted to maximize potential at every position, having to rely on him or, Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones, I feel like he could have, used that luxury pick or whatever to say maybe go after one of the, the next couple of tier guys after. Obviously Lamar and Mahomes are not available, but if he could have went Deshaun or Kyler or I can't even think of. I'm thinking of now for some reason. Oh, Russell Wilson. Yeah, of course. That his team would be in a lot better shape, but maybe Josh Allen's his guy, and that's fine too. But I think I would have went a different route there if I were him. I think the make or break type guy in his team is Clyde Edwards-Helaire for that reason. If it was like a full PPR league, I would say easily a first round pick. We are PPR, but it's not as much as like touchdowns. Touchdowns are still heavier. Don't know what he's going to do in the red zone, how much work he's going to get down there. That remains to be seen. And he's a rookie with no preseason and a weirder training camp. So you don't know how he's going to acclimate right away. Anything to add to that, Ben? What do you think?
No, I mean, I agree. Everything we're saying about, going real heavy on running backs, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, especially in a year like this year where, we were talking about it with the whole controversy about whether we're going to do IR positions and the fact that I think there's going to be a lot of soft tissue tears this year, and running back's one of those positions where guys, blow out a hamstring early in the season, and, depth at that position might be really important.
But if you put those soft tissue tears on the IR, you're not a gentleman.
Yeah. But
is the vagina included in that?
Yeah, I feel you. Right. Those guys could. I mean, and Chubb's already. He was in the concussion protocol early, and he's out of it now. And everybody's a risk, man. One of the strategies I was reading into for this year is definitely have a quarterback that is in a system that he's been in for a year or two, and that's Josh Allen. Josh Allen. They've got an O-line that's improved, and I believe it's all intact or even built upon. They're returning a lot of their weapons. They added stuff. They added a deep threat. Josh Allen is a poor deep passer, and they added one of the best deep ball receivers in the league to help him out. I think Josh Allen's trajectory is going up. He was my last choice for keeper. I was trying to trade AJ Green. Ben knows this. I was trying to trade AJ Green at the last minute, and I was going to keep Josh Allen. I really like his rushing potential, although we'll get to my team and Zach Moss, who's going to eat into that in this season, I think. But Josh Allen is a good player to have. I think he could bump into the top 3 or 4 fantasy QBs this year if he continues to get goal line rushing scores. So Dom's set up, man. That's all we got to say about that. Anybody want to kick off the talk about the dirt balls?
Yeah, sure. Basically, his team, he took Saquon third, which I think was obviously, probably the obvious choice there. Although some could even argue Dalvin Cook there, but Saquon seemed to be, the right choice for him. He's already got Kamara, so he's basically got the 2-horse running backs that he's going to pencil in every week that are a threat to take it on any play out of the backfield. or receiving the ball. It's pretty hard to find any like real holes in this roster right now. Matt Ryan looking good there. Always what you're going to get with him. Godwin, Allen Robinson, I think was you had commented on that pick when he made it, that maybe it was tough for him to draft a Bear, but he's a really, really good player. So I think, I think the only concern you might have is his only tight end is Hayden Hurst, who's like his first year as like the starter in Atlanta. Don't know exactly what you're going to get there. How are they going to use him? But I still think he's got a very good team overall.
Yeah, I mean, if we're poking holes, Leonard Fournette in the 3rd round was on my do not draft list. I took Jonathan Taylor ahead of him. That tells you how much I thought of Fournette. I think he could have gone Kareem Hunt in that spot. Would have been a tastier pick. He owned Devin Singletary last year. Mostert was there too. I don't know. Fournette ends up with Tampa and with role unknown. So I mean that could be a plus. That could work out for him. I love my favorite player on his team is Hollywood Brown. I'm not going to hide it. That dude is going to be a stud this year. I got him in the 5th round. He was a guy I was kind of eyeing up. I kicked myself, or I thought about taking him a couple picks before that. Nate got Debo in the keeper rounds. Little injury discount there. I think he'll be fine, if not this week, in the next couple weeks. And Debo's a guy that probably would have been in the top. He'd at least be a wide receiver 2 this year, so that would put him in the top 3 or 4 rounds during the draft if he was healthy. So that's great value. Fun pick. You got Chase Young, who'll be fun to own. And Zach Bond from Wisconsin is a real late keeper defensive pick. So he's got some kinky guys to follow along too. And then I'm just blowing people up with their keepers that I like. Josh Kelly was a guy I took a lot of young like backup running backs. Joshua Kelly is going to be the Chargers running back to own this year after Ezekiel Elliott. So if you have a draft coming up this week, keep an eye and I'd take him too. So that's a good pick from Nate also. Anybody else want to talk about anything else with this team?
Yeah, I said I liked Hollywood too. I also liked the value of Matt Ryan in the 7th. I definitely I wasn't thrilled with the Latavius Murray pick when he made it. I know that's a handcuff for Kamara, but I felt like there were other like better keeper options for him available there. But it is what it is. Again, just nitpicking. So nothing major.
Yeah, it's like handcuffs for your keepers are kind of interesting because you kind of kept them because you think you might have them for a long time. So I don't. So how valuable would it be to get another keeper? So that's always like an interesting way to see how like people are thinking. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Ben, do you want to talk about yourself?
Always.
Yeah.
I thought it was an all right draft. I don't think I got so sometimes you get those drafts where you're going along and you see trends going and then you just suddenly get caught off guard with something and all of a sudden, you were looking maybe tight end in a round or two and all of a sudden 6 or 7 tight ends go. But I didn't see anything like that this year. I feel like the draft was pretty predictable. Not that it couldn't have gone better for myself, but I liked where I ended up. I'm a little bit soft in a couple of spots, but overall I think we'll be all right.
I think you're gonna have a fun team to own. If I had to say, like, maybe if you were soft somewhere, like I maybe I'm wrong, but I see like Robert Woods is your top receiver, so you don't have like a super upper echelon, but wide receiver super deep this year, and Robert Woods was really up and coming last year. A lot of people like him more than Cooper Kupp this year. So, I mean, that's okay. Like, dude, your team is solid. You're going to have fun, I think, with Cam Akers because that's, like, the exciting rookie that he could blow up. So pay attention to that. You got a mix of old and young. I think Delvin Cook is as good as it gets. I'm nervous about his contract and what he'll do. Like, if he's not signed in, like, week 3 and he's a little dinged up, is he going to shut it down? Or is he going to say, I got a contract, and is he going to get 2,500 yards? So that's a story. to pay attention to. I'm curious to see what Emmanuel Sanders does in New Orleans. I think you have one of the tight ends who is like one of the next best in Chris Herndon. So you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Dak Prescott, a lot of people say he's number 3, like the number 3 quarterback in the league. I took him in a pretty big league that I did other than the BFL. So you'll be right there.
Yeah, he's a fun pick.
Yeah. Definitely a veteran squad. You got Dalvin, you got Ingram, James White, Robert Woods, T.Y. Hilton, Emmanuel Sanders. All these guys have been around, and you generally kind of know what you're going to get from week to week. So that should make it, lineups easier, easier decisions for you. If I had a weakness, the tight end position was the one question mark. You know what I mean? But it's, like I said, Herndon could be a nicer pick too. I felt like Cam Akers was that guy that might make or break the roster for you. Really like the James White pick where you got him at, because there's going to be games where he's going to be used as a matchup and he's going to touch the ball 25 times. He was like, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was scoring as like a running back 1 for the first, 5 or 6 weeks last year, until suddenly his production just like mysteriously slowed down, which you never know with Bill Belichick, what any rhyme or reason, but I think they're going to have to rely more with their running backs, and maybe Cam can use him as like a check down like he did with McCaffrey. I like the Justin Jefferson pick for where you made it for the keeper. He's not having like the greatest camp, but man, he's got a ton of ability, and he's going to probably get plenty of chances. And yeah, we seem to talk about Emmanuel Sanders as a value pick every year, especially being in New Orleans now. He's a guy that can still get it done. So I like that pick too. If I had any dislikes, it would just again be nitpicking. You know what I mean? I don't. There's no real picks in this draft, I don't think, for anybody that was just like, except for maybe Drew, but we'll get to that later.
I got one that I might bring up too. All right, Cobra Kai. Do we say Gilead's Cobra Kai? Gilead's?
I had no idea. I just call him Cobra.
Can we get some clarification on that, Brian? Thanks, Brian. All right. Hey, he had a stacked little early draft too. And he had some nice keepers. So he went ahead and took Kenyon Drake and Joe Mixon back to back in the first round. And then I like what he did in the second round, locking down tight end with Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson's favorite target. And then he took DJ Moore, and Ryan McQueen didn't say anything about me when it was taken. So maybe that joke has flown away. I appreciate that. That makes me happy. And then he ended up with Kareem Hunt and Tyler Lockett. So he got 6 excellent, 6 high-ranked players. I hate Joe Mixon. Sorry, Brian. His offensive line sucks. But he just got paid, so maybe they'll feed him the ball because they just paid the heck out of him. And then Kenyon Drake was like, I don't need to tell you guys because he probably tore your team up at the end of the year because he tore the league up at the end of the year. So he's ready to rock and roll too. Cobra Kai. It's on Netflix now? No, what is Cobra Kai in?
Yeah, it's Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, my kind of theme, I think, going for his team, I wrote down QB of the future, because he's got Breeze for this year, but then he's going to have his choice of possibly keeping either Tua or Justin Herbert. Herbert was, I believe, his last pick, which is awesome that he fell that far for him, because even though he was my least favorite of the rookie quarterbacks, I think he's probably going to get more opportunity, at least early on, but we'll see. If I had a question mark, I would say he has no defensive depth, and that's, you don't have to have that. You really don't. You can plug and play defense here and there. But I don't love starting like defensive linemen, and he's got Nick Bosa in his starting lineup right now, which is, that's fine if you want to make that play. He's a guy that could have 3 sacks one week and then 1 assisted tackle the week after, even though he played a really good game. You know what I mean? They don't always go for stats as defensive linemen. I feel like DJ Moore was kind of one of the picks that was like could be a make or break. There were some other guys there, maybe better. Bridgewater's the man in Carolina now, and he's not a real slinging along the yard, around the yard kind of guy. So I don't see him getting a ton of chances. He'll have games where he might only be targeted 4 or 5 times, even though he's the number 1 wide receiver. So that's why I was like, but the talent's undeniable for sure.
Just kind of looking at he took 2 tight ends. He has a bunch of really solid receivers. Brandon Cooks is a guy that's notable too. If he's healthy the whole year, he's an ace, you guys. He's him and Will Fuller, who I ended up on my team. They're kind of the same guy, and there's a ton of targets opened up now with DeAndre Hopkins leaving Houston. So Cooks might be that a league winner type player. So just watch out. And I wouldn't be shocked if Cooks blew up and led Cobra to a title. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree a little bit on the defensive side here. These next 2 teams, both 5 defensive players drafted, and as much as you can sometimes shuffle through guys off the waiver wire, it really sucks when you're 3 or 4 weeks in and you're trying to find any kind of defensive back who's going to get you any points because you need someone to start. I just feel like we've got pretty deep benches, but I don't think they're deep enough to have 3 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, and then essentially no bench spots on defense. That's going to be tough. You're relying on the guys you got producing all year long now.
Yeah, or else you like take them with your last picks and you're like, I'm going to drop this guy in week 4 and pick up another guy, and that's going to be my new starter. And there's not like a great feeling when you're like the projected points. Oh, he's going to get 13 points this week because he's going to get 2 tackles and something happen.
Yeah.
I hear you, man.
Yeah, that's tough. Especially with if you're relying on projected points are always like 0.8% or 0.8 sacks or something like that. It's like, all right, so if he gets a sack, he's gonna beat his projection. If he doesn't, he's way behind.
He's hero. Yeah.
So it's tough.
Yeah, that's such the gamble with those defensive linemen that like the sack masters, because although I know that's Mike's nickname for another reason, sack master. Like those guys get 3 in 1 week because they're just owning this crappy rookie left tackle, and then they're silent for 2 weeks and they get you nothing. So like they're winning you that matchup that week, and then they're missing in action. I don't know. Yeah, it's okay. It's crazy. I like a guy like me in my situation, like that. Those are probably the players I kind of swung for. I didn't take any D linemen like that, but I took guys who maybe could blow up. But we're not talking about me right now. Should we move on to Withers?
Drew's next.
Cadillac.
Drew was next. Cadillac. Sorry, Drew. What do you guys want to say about Drew's team?
Well,
and
he's
Drew,
a defending champ.
nice guy.
And I mean, when we're putting our sheets together and you're going through the draft, it's always an adventure finding Drew's picks scattered all over the board.
Yeah,
I mean,
he loves trading picks.
This dude, if he's not trading, he's not doing anything. You know what I mean? That's like, and I love that he's active and stays like that. It just makes it the homework a lot harder. As much as I gave a few guys a hard time in the keeper show for not making any trades, much easier to track the depth chart. But yeah, Drew of course has Mahomes as a keeper. Then took 2 more quarterbacks. I didn't love taking Rivers where he did. There's no value there. You're never ever going to start him over Mahomes, and you're not going to keep him. I did like Cam because Cam I think is one of those guys that could blow up. And you obviously have to have a guy for the bye week. So depending on who has the better matchup, he took Rivers because he's a Colt now, and that's cool. But I think there's no point to that pick. I thought if it was 2017, his draft would have been amazing.
Yeah, especially now that you got Gurley.
David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell. Well, Bell's already been traded for Gurley. Same thing.
Yep.
You know what I mean, Antonio Brown. I mean, come on.
Corey,
For-
instead of AJ, you could make it Corey Dillon. Although I don't think Corey Dillon was down there.
So yeah, the running backs are a big question mark. I mean, I had his make or break guy as Le'Veon, but I guess now it would be Gurley. I think Gurley actually has a higher upside than Le'Veon. Going back home to Georgia, maybe reinvigorate him. And he still scored 12 touchdowns last year. Even
An
though
upside for knee injuries or an upside for yardage?
Yeah. All right. I did like in his keeper round getting Jerry Jeudy. I think that's a good pick. Patrick Queen, another guy that could be a defensive keeper for him. He traded Murray. I had Murray down already. I disliked Rivers, and I dislike Antonio Brown. I dislike Antonio Brown for a lot of reasons. Fantasy football is another reason. I don't think there's any point in drafting him unless you really unless you know something I don't. If some team's really close to pulling the trigger, but when you need every pick to count, I think that's silly. But I could be wrong.
There's a player that Drew took that I like. That I think he's such a good player. I'm not even gonna say who it was in this draft, in this show. That's just how I feel about it. There's a player that I think is so good that I'm not even gonna talk about him. Anything else? He made a move for DK, so he has an elite quarterback, and now he has a very good receiver as a keeper. Who's his running back? Does he have a running back keeper? I don't. No, he didn't. End up with that many.
David Johnson.
Oh, David Johnson. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, he's gonna be able to start him, so he's okay. He's got a lot of youth. He drafted thinking maybe people want to trade keepers with me. He made a trade. He got rid of Cole Kmet, moved him to Goody already. I think Cam's really, really good too. There was some dissenting opinion on that in the group chat, but Cam is very solid. There's nothing wrong with Cam's game. So Drew kind of put all his chips in to win last year, and it paid off. And now he's sitting in a spot where he's got to deal with that, and he kind of dealt with it in a fun way.
Does the player you're talking about have a hyphenated last name?
I've never heard of this Gandy Golden guy, so
okay.
No.
I didn't know.
I've never heard of him.
I don't know who you're talking about then, because unless it's AJ Dillon, because you don't want to talk about a Packer.
No, dude, I have no problem talking about Packers. It's not AJ Dillon. AJ Dillon's going to steal several touchdowns from Aaron Jones this year, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Maybe.
Should we move forward?
Yeah.
Okay. Withers winners. Rest in peace, Bill Withers. He was a great musician. I don't know if you guys knew that. Can anybody name a Bill Withers song?
Yes.
Can Ben?
No.
I can't either. Anyway, moving forward.
Ain't no sunshine? Come on.
Ain't no sunshine.
Okay.
Hey, Ryan zigged when others zagged. Ryan took two top tier receivers, or kind of best receiver available at the start, and I appreciate that. Good for him. You got to do something to try and win, man, especially when you're sitting in that spot. So Julio and AJ Brown are going to be good for him. I'm nervous about AJ Brown not quite getting to what he got to last year or staying on that pace. And then Julio, why is it so damn hard for Julio to score touchdowns every year?
I don't know.
Yeah, and I actually like it when Ryan ends up with Julio, because I feel like I have a history of him trading Julio to me, in the stretch run. So God hope I can be in the stretch run in it and trading, and maybe me and Ryan can work something out.
He did not hesitate at all. That pick was put in very quickly.
Sweet.
Personally, I think I would have went Josh Jacobs there. But I mean, I'm not going to argue with an all-time great. That is an interesting debate. Where would you list Julio with the all-time greats? His numbers are right there. He's done it every year. He's physically gifted. There's nothing you can take away other than maybe, he doesn't score a ton of touchdowns, but my gosh, he's so good.
What about Tyreek Hill? Do you take Tyreek Hill over Julio Jones in that spot? I have a hard time saying no to the KC offense.
No. I don't. I love Tyreek, and I think he went right where he needed to go. He's definitely the number 2 after, that was left on the board from our keepers. Obviously, we won't talk about Michael Thomas being the keeper. But yeah, no, that's to me, I think Julio's still the guy because you can pencil him in, and there's no way he's gonna have to have 10, 12 touchdowns at some point, right? Why not this year?
Dude,
I don't know.
Calvin Ridley is going up, and I'm not sure if Julio's still going up anymore. So I don't know.
Not going up, but he ain't going that far down either.
Right. I agree.
I feel like Ryan's draft, he went like every other. Like he went with the proven guy and then the big potential. Julio is proven. AJ Brown is the big potential guy. How often are they going to throw it in there? Throw it there. And then he went like with, Russell Wilson is like the proven guy. And then obviously, I wasn't crazy about the back-to-back Miami Dolphins running backs, but they're pretty much like, I guess whoever's going to have the hot hand. But it was kind of a weird, like the way he went in the early part of his draft. It seemed like it was almost like, this and that, but no, I did like a lot of his picks. I think he's got a solid team. I liked Rager. I know he got hurt right pretty much like the day of the draft or the day after. Minka Fitzpatrick, where he got him there, was good. Brandon Ayuk before he got hurt was like listed almost as wide receiver 1 in San Francisco and on some outlets. Madison is a great pickup if Dalvin Cook's contract becomes a problem. So the only nitpick I had was taking the Dolphins back to back, but it's not horrible for their value. They went right where they're supposed to.
I knew that Jordan Howard was going to be like in a position where I was looking for a running back, and so I did some homework on him. And like the one theory on Howard was like, hey, Miami paid him a ton of money, like that's who they went out and got like right away, so they're obviously going to use him. So that's the reason to go after Jordan Howard. So I think he'll get the ball a lot this year. Breida's a talent, but I don't think he'll stay healthy. So I don't hate the Jordan Howard pick. It's not a guy you like feel good.
I don't hate the Jordan Howard pick.
It's not a guy you feel good about running with, but
yeah,
it's not terrible. All right, Steel reserves. I was without a first and a second round pick, so I did some like shooting for the fences. Like I took guys who I thought maybe could have big weeks here or there, or come out of nowhere and do really well. So my first pick was Jonathan Taylor. He's just so much more talented than Marlon Mack. I think that job's going to be his sooner rather than later, and he's got the top offensive line in the league. So I guess it's always good to have a running back in that situation. Terry McLaurin was my next guy. I think he's going to get a ton of targets. He had a ton of targets last year. There's really no one else in Washington. I really felt like I needed to get a top scoring quarterback since I wasn't going to have a stud running back. So I'm taking a gamble on Kyler. I chose Kyler over Russell. It was a tough choice, and Ryan ended up taking Russell right after that. And we talked about before, Will Fuller was a guy who I had circled because I think he's a top 12 receiver if things go right for him and he stays healthy. But that's literally never happened, so it probably won't happen this year. And then I'm super excited about Zach Moss because if you look him up on Twitter, you'll see like how good he's been doing in training camp. That's not a guarantee of success, but
would you say you like him? Would you say you like him enough to put a heart around him?
Yeah, I heart him. I wanted a kinkier keeper guy, but I was like, okay, I'll take the Chenault character. And then Fournette got traded, and Chenault might be like a running back type now in Jacksonville. And he was already getting like rave reviews about being just like an athletic specimen. So he's a guy I'm excited about having. I shouted, sometimes you got to take an old guy, and then I took Adrian Peterson. And yesterday, Adrian Peterson got cut. So sometimes maybe you shouldn't take an old guy. Anyway, that's my draft in a nutshell.
Yeah, I put down that just like unproven. Like whereas so a few other teams had more veterans. Like there's a lot of question marks. I like Kyler. I was actually looking at Kyler hopefully a round or two later for me. I thought Russ would go before him, but I don't mind it at all, especially with Hopkins now and being year 2 in the system. Taylor was a question mark for me because he's a guy that, as much, we all saw him a ton in college, I'm sure, being a Badger. He does tend to put the ball on the ground, and he doesn't catch it a whole lot. I think as a rookie, that's where you can be like really helpful. Maybe not. Obviously, the dude is talented, loaded with it, and his combine, he ran really fast, faster than I thought he was going to run. Love his potential. Love the guy. Rooting for him. But I have no problem with it. It's just like I said, he's unproven. That could be. I don't think he's going to dominate the touches early on, but I think he could be a guy as the season goes on. He'll get stronger.
I think Taylor was the move, though. If you kind of look at who went after him, to me, definitely Taylor over Fournette, and then Kareem Hunt. It was Kareem Hunt or Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
And I went upside, I guess, even though Kareem Hunt's incredible. That's the guy I'm going to compare him to all year. Yeah. And then there's Devin Singletary, who I think is on the losing side of a 50-50. Mostert is another guy I really, really liked and really thought about taking Mostert over McLaurin.
Yeah.
And then Montgomery going in like a couple weeks before he got, before when he was healthy, Montgomery was in that thought process too. But he was on my don't draft list also because of his injury. So that's how I ended up with Jonathan Taylor.
Okay. For likes, I definitely had Will Fuller there. He's one of those guys that can't seem to stay away from the nagging injuries, but he's also the guy that's shown before that he has 10 for 203 touchdown ability. He's going to get more chances without Hopkins. If he can stay on the field, it would be amazing for him to stay on the field for a full season. Right for Notre Dame, right, Ben?
Yeah, exactly.
Then you got I had I had two running backs in my mind that I was going to take later in the draft. And I was like, I'm going to get one of these two guys because I actually had Kyle's pick in the 9th round. I believe it was. And then you and Ryan both took – or no, I had Phil's pick. That's right. And you and Ryan both took the guys that I had taken. I knew I was just going to get one of them. When you took Tony Pollard there, whenever he got on the field for the Cowboys, he was really good, like game breaker type good. And McCarthy, he sometimes gets sour on running backs. Like he never gave Aaron Jones the ball. So he may get sour with Zeke and give Pollard the ton, or if Zeke gets dinged, Pollard's a huge potential guy if he can just get the touches. So I like that pick a lot. I actually didn't even mind the Gardner Minshew. I like that pick late because I think Jacksonville's going to have to throw it a ton. Even their running back one, who some are saying is Chris Thompson, is mostly a receiving back. So I think they're going to throw it a lot. So, there's with what you had to work with, I think you made some pretty good moves. And it's like just one of those years where you never know. You could be sitting pretty like – I think Kittle's obviously in the prime of his career. That's a stud right there. You've got good players at every position down the list, and you never know. And
I could be 0-14, or I could be pushing for the playoffs.
Yeah,
just like I have boomer bust guys, so gotta stay healthy and all that jazz. Whoopity do.
It's fun. It's fun.
It's fun.
I'll call you out for the Eddie Pinheiro pick.
Yes.
That's the Mr. Irrelevant pick too.
I don't know. I have this theory about like if you take kickers off of great offenses, they're going to get a lot of extra points. Yeah. But here's the Bears. They're a great defense with a shitty offense, so they could like get good field position, eke their way into long field goal range, and then maybe he makes them this year, and then we're good. I don't know. I mean, that's a great strategy.
I think it's that last part that's the question mark, the making them.
The making him.
I have no doubt that the Bears are going to be trying a lot of long field goals.
Right. Exactly. I hear you. Yep, for sure. Eddie, easy money. All right, big Philly style. He didn't have a first rounder either.
Take it.
He kicked well. I mean, his rosters kicks off with Lamar. His running backs are Carson and Melvin Gordon. He has DeAndre Hopkins. I like Tyler Higbee, his tight end. He was a super. He like was the catalyst for Ryan's title push last year. To make the playoffs and do really well. Kind of a. I don't know if people realize how good Higbee was playing at the end of last year, and that was a big push for Ryan. He took Melvin Gordon with his first pick in the draft. A little bit scary, but I don't know what you do there. The next running back taken was Le'Veon Bell, who no one wants Le'Veon Bell except Kyle, and then Jonathan Taylor. So Phil's out west. Maybe Phil has some intel that Le'Veon's tearing it up. He ended up with Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones had a weird week with them going out and getting Fournette, but then Arians said Ronald Jones is still their guy. Bad luck for Phil with his round 5 pick, Fred Warner, who like got diagnosed with COVID, or he's on the COVID list like this week. Phil didn't have any keeper picks for the first 2 swings. He ended up with Noah Fant, I see, with a traded pick. Anyhow, Phil's always tough. Phil knows what he's doing. He's a guy who went with 2 tight ends this year. Two guys that I like a lot. DeAndre Swift's an interesting player for him. We'll see what he ends up doing in Detroit as a rookie. What do you guys want to say about Phil? His team.
Yeah, I think Phil's team's pretty balanced, but he's going to require his keepers to carry him. Yeah, I've never been a Melvin Gordon in the NFL fan. I felt like he's always been overrated. There's nothing that I think he does exceptionally well. I honestly think Philip Lindsay will probably end up with a better year than him, and maybe I'm biased because he's on my team, but I really could see him being the better back there. So that's scary for me. He doesn't have a real running back 2 or wide receiver 2 to me, although I like Boyd from the Bengals, but there's a lot of buzz about T. Higgins, and they obviously have AJ Green. Watkins is one of those guys that'll hit a 60-yarder and then disappear for 3 quarters. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But as far as like he's still going to be a player because of Lamar for sure, and Hop and those guys, and you never know who can break out and have like just a nuts game here and there. So it'll never be a comfortable matchup with Phil, that's for sure. I really liked him getting Fant where he did because he didn't have many keeper picks, and tight ends usually don't come in and light it up right away. It's one of the difficult positions to adjust from college to the NFL. So him coming into year 2, I believe he's going to be pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think anytime you have Lamar, you're probably favored in that matchup. So Phil has a nice little building block there, and he didn't really mess it up. So he's always competitive.
Yeah. Like you said, what else do you do? You know what I mean? With that pick.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah.
Move on to Kyle.
Phil's one of those guys that every year I feel like he's got a couple of picks that just throw me. Like they confuse me. That it's not what I was expecting to happen at all.
Mm-hmm.
But they end up working out for him. So
yeah, he's usually right there.
Yeah.
I like what he was trying to do with Warner fouled up by Blake Martinez, because I was thinking about that too. Hey, because he didn't have a first or a 3rd round pick, so where can I become strong and build an elite defense? Now, really, really bad luck that hopefully Warner's okay, but really bad luck that he lost one of those guys. So, all right, who wants to start with the White Thunder?
I'll take Kyle. I just put holy wide receivers. Kyle, I had to double check and triple check this, but he has 10 wide receivers, which is bananas. I can see a couple of them being easy to go. I did talk to him in person yesterday, and he said his theory is basically one of the young guys has to hit, and he's probably right. One of them has to. I can say now because it was agreed on draft day, but basically he and I regretted taking Ruggs where I did at 8.1 pretty much right away and wanted to take a different player. So he basically took Isaiah Simmons for me, and we're just going to swap those players as soon as the season's entered. So I'll have Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker, and he'll have Ruggs. That's why he's got 10 wide receivers. So I already had 4 wide receivers and 2 of them were keepers. I did not need him. Or was I super excited about him? So we're going to trade those players. Nothing else involved. That's just all it is. As far as question marks, running back depth, he did have Gurley, but now he's got Bell, which is even weirder to me. But it's going to be a patchwork running backs for him. But he's building his team. You know what I mean? He added Waller. He made the trade for Waller as a keeper. Now he's going to have some wide receiver keepers. So he took Deshaun. He had three third-round picks. So he took Deshaun. Great. Perfect. Get your guy there in the third round. That's about where that guy should have gone. Joe Burrow, possibly a keeper next year for a quarterback. We'll see how he does. T. Higgins, the hype train is real on him. I liked him a lot. But again, when you've got all those other wide receivers in front of him, who knows where he has a spot for him. But it's just wide receivers for days.
You had 8.1, and you're telling me all you got out of it was a rookie linebacker?
I have no problem with it. I'm a lot more excited about Simmons. So
What a debacle our round 8 has become, man. I think you guys heard me bitching for like the 3 rounds I didn't have a pick. No one was ready. Oh, that's a heartbreaker.
That's why we need the break.
That's maybe we should get a break. We should make mandatory breaks. You guys can formulate a decent list. If you're not going to do the homework before, we can do it at break.
I had the 8.2 last year and took Devin White, and I'm very happy with him as a keeper. Maybe I'm sure I'll be just as happy with him.
Oh my God. I would have paid you a lot for it.
Where would you have gone? What would you have gone at 8.1 then? Would you have gone with Ruggs?
Jerry Jeudy, Deebo Samuel. No, I would not have taken Ruggs. Ruggs is a speed guy. He wasn't even the best receiver in college football.
He was the first wide receiver taken
by the Raiders.
I understand. So yeah, Jeudy was your guy.
Judy's the most polished out of the. Let me. Well, yeah, I think Jeudy by far. Gibson's getting a ton. Antonio Gibson's getting a ton of hype. I love Justin Jefferson, who Ben took, but he's not going to start. I think he's the number 3 right now, which is kind of an upset. So I don't know how much he's going to pay off this year.
Okay. Now, if you're picking at 8.1 and you have my keepers, does a wide receiver make perfect sense?
You took a wide receiver.
But that's why I said I traded him for Simmons.
Yeah. As far as IDP wise go, no. There's a couple of the 2 other linebackers I like better than Simmons.
Okay.
Like what's Simmons' spot this year? Is he a linebacker? Is he a safety?
He's a linebacker. He's like making mistakes in camp, but he had one of the best workouts I think I've ever seen, and I fell in love with it, and I have no problem with that.
I think for our league, you want. Well, I'm just giving away strategy. You want a middle linebacker tackle monster, not like I think Simmons would probably be like a hybrid 3-3-5, outside linebacker type hybrid DB. Mm-hmm. He's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But I'll stop.
As of right now, he's like on the outside looking in on the starting lineup, but I don't think there's any way I don't keep him for next year. But we're not talking about my team.
Dang. All right. Seth, Seth like was like he had like a really textbook kind of solid draft. I feel like at the start of it is good. Um, Miles Sanders getting a lot of like pumped up this year as far as being the superstar man. I love Kenny Galladay. I thought hard about taking Mostert in the third. He's a guy who could like be a league leader in rushing yards. The way his playoff run was incredible. I think Devontae Parker just got injured. Bad luck. Jarvis Landry is always underrated, gets a ton of points. He got one of Mostert's backups in Tevin Coleman, who I was high on last year. And then Evan Ingram is one of those middling tight ends who could have like he has the ability to have a big week and be one of the top scoring tight ends. What do you guys want to say?
Yeah, he's another guy with definitely veterans on the team. I think he's going for the record of most Devontaes on the team with Devontae Adams and Devontae Parker. But yes, I love Kenny Galladay as well. It's criminal that he wasn't kept last year. That was a big mistake. But yeah, he's super talented. Jarvis Landry probably won't see a whole lot of playing time for him because of those guys, but that's another guy you can plug and play for an injury or whatever. Not sure what you're going to get with Michelle, but I like Sanders. Evan Ingram is really super talented, and then you got Henry later, who maybe finally this is the year he stays healthy. Not really flashy. That's what I had about for Seth. Like there's not flashy like players. You don't have. I don't see a lot of guys on that list that are gonna break out for 60. Maybe Mostert if he's that playoff guy, but I think it was also the playoffs were a combination of opportunity and just Shanahan knowing exactly what Pettin was going to do. He was calling out plays before they happened. So it was really, really a bad situation. Yeah, otherwise I liked his overall strategy. I think he's very, like, you can see like the way he picked, like up here real quick. He went running back, wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, running back. So he obviously went skill position, but then he doubled up on linebackers, then he doubled up on DBs, and then he got Baker late, which I think is really good value. Baker, say what you want about him, but he's going to be a 4,000-yard passer in the league. He's in his third year. He's, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's great. He could possibly take Rodgers' spot as a keeper for him next year. Mm-hmm. But what I dislike for him was the Levante David pick. He had 8.2 and took a 30-year-old linebacker. I don't see that as a viable keeper option, but that's just me.
Yeah, there were younger, like sexier starting middle linebackers available that I think would have been good there too. I think Jarvis Landry's his starting flex. So and I think that's solid. And yeah, I like Baker Mayfield where he got him too. Like, think about last year, Baker was like a 4th round pick.
Yeah, you're probably right with Landry. I had Devontae Parker in there, but with him being injured, yeah. But also I could see Sony Michel getting some play in there too. But we'll see how it goes in New England.
Yeah.
Is this the year that Seth trades Rodgers if he's not in the playoff contention now that he's got Baker?
Seth hasn't made a trade in 2 years. I don't know what Seth's doing. He literally has not. He's not made a trade in 2 years.
I don't think I have either, so I can't knock him for that.
All right, Mike, you want to talk about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I want to talk at how I got salty at you criticizing my pick just a minute ago. No, for me, like what I had written down for myself was I have a lot of back end talent and I was drafting at the back end of the draft. What I mean by that is, like, if you look at the tier of where my guys are at, like Wentz is probably like a tier 2 quarterback, but probably at the rear of the tier 2. Henry is a tier 1 by most standards, but I think he's back end because he's limited in the receiving game. Like then you got like Amari Cooper. he's like, is he tier 1? Is he tier 2? We don't really know. The only one that's like a stud, like rock solid, is Kelsey. Like getting him at 12, like 1.12, I was pretty excited about that. I don't really have a running back 2 outside of Henry. That's like a for sure. Montgomery's, got the injury concern. Like I said, I think Philip Lindsay is going to have a nice year this year, but when that starts to take place, I'm not really sure. So I could be hurting early on for running backs. I went a little wide receiver heavy early on because I felt like they presented I just went for who I thought was going to have the best season at that point in that draft. Like, I didn't have to take Diggs. I already had 3 wide receivers on my team, and I took Diggs, but I think he presented like a ton of upside at that pick. You know what I mean? So I don't hate it looking back on it, but I don't love it either. The other pick I'm worried about is Kerryon Johnson. We know what he is. He had a lot of hype coming in, but even when he's healthy, he's a okay running back on an okay team. So that's like, yeah. And then they drafted Swift too, so it's like, ugh, you know what I mean? So if I don't know, I don't love my team. I certainly don't hate it. If I can make a move here and there, catch some breaks early on, I could be competing, but I don't think I'm like as good as maybe Nate is in our division, but I'm still happy with the way things shook out.
Yeah, I think your receivers are awesome. I really think Adam Thielen's going to be in line for a ton. And then Amari Cooper is going to continue being really, really solid. I think his touchdowns are going to come back to earth a bit because they were crazy high, I think, last year. I don't know.
Yeah.
Cortland Sutton's a question mark. He was one of my favorites last year. I like him a little bit less with Denver's drafting Jerry Jeudy, but I still think he's amazing. And then Travis, I always think people are going to draft Kelsey like in the first round, like mid-first round. That's not like, is Kelsey going to go now? And then he always lasts until later. And so I think that's a great spot that you got him in. And I would have done that too. You said you don't have – I agree, you don't really have a running back too, but Derrick Henry's a monster, so he's like worth 3 running backs himself. So do you need a running back too? Nah. You're just fine. Carson Wentz is a former MVP, if I'm not mistaken. And so, like, once you prove you have that ability and talent, like, that's there. So he's a guy who could repeat it in theory. So you're sitting strong.
He was like in line to win MVP, but he didn't actually win it because he got hurt at the end of the year. Right. So some speculate, but the only thing I worry about Wentz is like I feel like he's a really good player who elevates the play of his team and those around him, but like they're already struggling with injuries again, like early on, and like so, hopefully for his sake he doesn't have like a, like a sick ward out there for his team. He actually gets some solid production and consistent play around him. But I did take Goff as the backup too, which is again, and playing in McVay's offense, he's of course going to get to throw it a ton. Not like the greatest player in the world, but for fantasy purposes, is very fine.
You called yourself out when you gave Goody a hard time about taking too many Bears. And then I gave you crap about taking Montgomery. But then looking at the draft board, like that was such a crappy place in the draft, and you needed a running back there too. Like who would you have taken? Like DeAndre Swift ? I'm looking at the guys who come after your David Montgomery pick. Swift ? Ronald Jones. Who knows? He's not even that good, but he just is on a good team now. Who else? Ben took Cam Akers, exciting dude. No one knows anything about him. He's on a team with a terrible offensive line. J.K. Dobbins, super talented, but he's not, in line to start the year as a superstar starter. So anyway,
the only other guy that I liked, I was actually planning on taking Mostert one pick. And Seth took him one pick before me.
Yep.
So that was like another.
That would have been real nice, man. That would have fit real nice in there.
Right. I think it would have been perfect, but it didn't end up working out. So. Yeah, like there's a couple things here and there where I had guys lined up and didn't end up getting them, but overall, I'm still happy with the way that the team shook out. So,
Sweet.
do we
Sweet.
want to project division winners, or we want to wrap it up?
I didn't do any thought into division winners, but
Okay.
I'm willing to do that.
I thought you had the scoring system thing that you did.
Oh, that? No, I didn't do that for division. I just kind of what I did. I
Oh.
kind of ranked out like who's got the best quarterback, and I gave that team 3 points. Who's got the best running backs? I gave them 3 points. Who's at second best? I gave them 2, and I did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Put that. No, I don't want to talk about that.
That's another. All right. All right. Well, just looking real quick, who would you think has the strongest teams in the division? Each division. Let's go infantry first.
Hold on, let me open up the. I don't even know who's in the infantry.
Well, that's Goody, Dom, you, and Seth.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's Dom.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean he's like he's got 3 superstar running backs every week, and then one gets hurt, he's still okay. So
yeah,
and then he's got Michael Thomas to punch you in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're definitely the most experienced to think of those guys. Well, I mean, Seth has been doing it a long time, but like with the championship pedigree, but I think you have the most question marks too. So I could see you finishing anywhere from 2nd to 4th in that division.
Oh yeah, I'm dead last year, but that's okay. We like that role.
We'll do artillery next, which is me and Drew and Nate and Kyle. I think Nate has the advantage with those 2 horses of Kamara and Saquon. Godwin, of course. I like where my team's positioned. I think Kyle's lacking in the running backs, and I think Drew is going to have a completely different team in 4 weeks. So,
yeah, I mean the question is who gets to play you when Derrick Henry's on a bye, or
right.
Or do you get to play Nate when Saquon's on a bye?
Yeah, for sure.
So those come into play a lot, and I think I'd give the edge to Nate a little bit more. Just here's the thing: we didn't get to this about your team. Like I like Carson Wentz, but I'm really nervous about Philly's like receivers. They're injured.
Yeah.
They're not that good. So
Mm-hmm.
I give Matt Ryan over Wentz right now for me. So that gives him the edge a little bit.
I have a feeling Goff will probably end up starting 5 or 6 games for me because I'm going to play matchup.
Nice.
I'm not married to Wentz as the number 1.
You didn't get married to Carson Wentz.
Nope.
All right. Last division, Ben's division.
Yep. I think it's got to be Brian, right? Cobra.
Gilead's Cobra Kai?
Yeah.
I think so too.
I think he's got the most depth he's got a lot of like 2nd-tier players, but that's not a bad place to be. Then I like Ben with Dak and Dalvin. I think those are both 2 top 5 guys at their position. Phil's got Lamar and Ryan's got Russ.
That's a tough decision, man.
I project Brian. That's probably who I would say has got the best chance to win.
I agree. The quarterbacks in this division are just beastly. Dak, Breeze, Lamar, and who's Ryan's quarterback? Oh, Russell. Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's the meat grinder.
Yeah, for sure.
Get me out of that division. I'm not in it.
I just realized that Kirk Cousins is not on a roster. Wow. Interesting.
He's not going to be living long. Did you hear his quote about COVID the other day?
Yeah.
No.
What an idiot.
Alex Smith isn't on anybody's roster either.
Ooh.
Well,
he's on Washington's roster.
If you watch that E60 like I did, it's amazing that he's able to walk again.
I know.
Seeing some of those pictures. Wow, that was incredible. Special thanks to Ben for hosting and showing up.
Yeah. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Did the Islanders hold on?
Oh, yeah. 4-0 win.
Josh Hader gave up his first hits of the year. Got the loss.
Cubs got swept in a doubleheader. Just a terrible night.
Giannis might not play game 4.
Why?
Ankle.
Ankle. Sadness.
He'll play, but it won't matter.
Anybody have any jokes? You guys want to tell a joke?
What did one volcano say to the other? I lava you.
It's so bad. So bad.
That was beautiful.
Love you guys.
Love you. I love whoever wins the league, and I will consider them a champion, whether it be after 2 weeks or 16. Just wanted to say that too.
I'll count it.
It is
5
decided.
years from now, we won't remember.
The VFL show is naming a champion. Mike? He left. Okay.
No, I'm here.
All right.
I have no comment.
You guys want to say goodbye? Or
Goodbye.
Should we stay and talk longer?
I could talk to you guys all night, but we should wrap it up.
All right. Adios.